Little warmer. So, they say where we are right now. There's at least 30,000 of y'all right now. And let me say this as we get started. 50 years ago, right here, not too far, the Lincoln Memorial, Dr. King and Sonny marched 50 years ago, and yes, on August 28th, 1963. And they marched for jobs and freedom. And they marched for equality. And they marched so that we can come together as black and white and brown and yellow and red and male and female and straight and gay. We can all come together as humanity. But guess what? This rally 50 years later is as important or more important as that rally then. Because while they were fighting for equality, we are fighting for existence. So that in 2063, 50 years from now, they will look back at this rally and they will see you up front and you in the back and you over here. And if we succeed in saying that this pipeline can't go, this pipeline does not exist, they will look back then and say thank you. So we've come too far to turn around now.
That's right.
As we say in hip hop, can't stop, won't stop. So we're gonna have some fun today because half the battle was showing up. Now, one little before I bring out my good friend Bill McKibben. This is real important. I know this is being live streamed. I know there are folks in certain corporations who are watching it right now, very afraid of you, because we know that organized money can't beat organized people.
All that I ever wanted to see, all I ever wanted to see was a movement of people to stop climate change, and now I've seen it. You guys look so beautiful. I've been meeting people all day. It's hometown heroes like our friends at CCAN. It's heroes like those people who've been blocking Keystone with their bodies down in Texas. It's people who understand that the fight against fracking and against coal ports and against taking the tops off mountains is ultimately the fight for a living planet. It's people who lived through Sandy and people who survived the drought, some of whom I got to go to jail with last week. It is the students at 256 colleges who are now fighting the fossil fuel industry head on to force divestment, the biggest student movement in decades. It is all of you. You are the antibodies kicking in as the planet tries to fight its fever. We have waited a long time to get started. We've already seen the Arctic melt. Our colleagues in 191 countries at 350.org tell us every day about some new drought, some new flood. Because we've waited this long, the easiest answers are no longer enough. We're going to have to start making tough decisions. Our theme has to be, when you are in a hole, stop digging. Above all, stop the Keystone Pipeline. The president can do that with a single stroke of his pen. And if he does, he will become the first world leader to veto a big project because it's bad for the climate. That would be a legacy and a signal to the rest of the world. And so we will keep making our case. We'll follow him and the Secretary of the State around the country. And as this spring goes on, we'll unite that fight with a focus on all the other holes we're still digging too. And as summer comes on, this movement will just pick up. I want everybody to circle those days toward the end of July that are on average the hottest each year. We're going to try and make them hot politically too this year. Maybe set aside a few dollars each week for a bail fund, okay? So far, we've been firm but peaceful, diverse but united. We have to stay that way because the job that we have undertaken is the most important one that any humans have ever been entrusted with. It is our job to make sure the planet does not catastrophically overheat. The oil companies aren't going to do that. Their business plan is to wreck the earth. The government isn't going to do that. They're too busy taking money from the oil companies. But history shows that though we're never going to outspend the fossil fuel industry, we can find other currencies to work with. Passion, spirit, creativity. The powerful love for the future that brought you here today. We can see in our mind's eye all the generations to come, and so we know why we fight. We can see the beauty of the world we've been given, the cold of a winter day, the color on an autumn hillside, and so we know why we fight. We know our brothers and our sisters in the poorest parts of the world are already suffering, and so we know why we fight. I cannot promise you we're going to win, but I waited a quarter century since I wrote the first book about all this stuff to see if we were going to fight. And today, at the biggest climate rally by far in U.S. history, today I know we're going to fight. The battle, the most faithful battle in human history, is finally joined, and we will fight it together.
Come on, give it right now. Come on for Bill, man, give it!
Oh my goodness. I wish you guys could see what you look like. Y'all look beautiful! Well, this is it. This is the last minute in the last quarter of the biggest, most important game humanity has ever played. This is it. One thing I know, having worked in this town, the simple maxim, if you don't fight for what you want, you deserve what you get. If you don't fight for what you want, you deserve what you get. I had the honor of working for this president, and I want to direct my message to him. President Obama, all the good that you have done, all the good you can imagine doing, will be wiped out by floods, by fires, by superstorms, if you fail to act now to deal with this crisis, that is a gun pointed at the head of the future. Everything you have done, history will judge you 20 years from now based on one decision alone. That decision is not in the hands of the Congress. That decision is not in the hands of any governors. That decision is not in the hands of any mayors or any dog catchers. The decision is in your hands, Mr. President. It's in your hands. Your hands. The decision to let this pipeline come through America is the most fateful decision you will ever make, Mr. President. It would be like jabbing a dirty needle into this country from Canada. It would be like lighting a fuse on a carbon bomb. That's what it would be like doing, Mr. President. And you cannot allow that to happen. If the pipeline goes through, Mr. President, the first thing it runs over will not be farmland. The first thing it runs over will not be small towns. If you let this pipeline go through, Mr. President, the first thing it runs over is the credibility of the President of the United States of America. That's the first thing it runs over. That's the first thing it runs over. I want to say unequivocally to this next generation, stop being chumps. I'm going to say it again to the next generation. Stop being chumps. You elected this president. You re-elected this president. You gave him the chance to make history. He needs to give you the chance to have a future. Stop being chumps. Stop being chumps and fight for your future. Thank you very much. And in case you were wondering why everybody in the front row was smiling, it had nothing to do with my speech. Give it up for Rosario Dawson in the house.
I just want to say thank you so much, all of you being here. The only reason why the President's address had this issue front and center is because of you. Keep up the strong, good work. We got a delay on this pipeline. Let's make sure we get a no. Don't let them change the conversation and call it oil sands. This is tar sands we're talking about. This is our future that we are talking about. Fracking is not a bridge fuel. Bridge to where? Nowhere. Talking about that could potentially be 100 years for us, and tar sands could equal 1,000 years of energy. But what's going to happen to our innovation? What's going to happen to the jobs that are being created in wind and solar and wave and algae technology? What's going to happen to the electric car? No. We need to say yes to science and technology, yes to our health and our future, yes to local economies being able to sustain, and say yes, we have clean water, we have vegetables, we have meat that is not, animals that are not dying, fish that are not rising to the tops of lakes because of the groundwater coming up with the methane and all of the chemicals, most of which we don't even have disclosed to us to know. No gag orders on us to tell us. This is what we need. We need transparency. We need real information. We don't need the same advertising companies who told us that it was okay to smoke in hospitals telling us that fracking is safe. No. We didn't believe you then, we don't believe you now. No fracking, no tar sands. Yes on innovative technology for our future. We're not inheriting trillions of dollars of debt and water we can't drink, food we can't eat. No. So thank you so much for making this issue front and center, making sure that he understands and all of the other leaders in front of us know that they have the constituents behind them to support them to do the right thing. You are all legacy building. Thank you for doing that with us.
So now I'm good. I got to hug Rosario Dawson. I'm good now. I'm good. All right. So they saying power shift, and we're going to do that on the count of 3. Make some noise. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Power shift. Power shift. 1, 2, 3. Power shift. Power shift. Power shift. Power shift. Hands. Go ahead. Give me the hands. Give me the hands. Oh yeah. Give me the hands. Oh, that's all right. Okay. So next up, coming up now, we have, let me say this too in the movement. The reason why you see this environmental movement exploding, because for years, our movement has been kind of siloed. The progressive movement can be somewhat segregated, where we can have groups here and there. But this time, dealing with existence has gotten too big. So we've broken down our silos and all come together under one big tent. So with that, I'll bring up Chief Jacqueline Thomas. It's the immediate past chief of the Sakush First Nation in British Columbia, Canada. Give it up. She helped initiate the formation of the Yinkadene Alliance, which has 6 member nations and are leaders of the Save the Frigid Declaration, which has been signed by over 135 First Nations. And they are beautiful too. I just want to say that. They are awesomely beautiful. The Yinkadene Alliance to lead the fight against the Enbridge proposed Northern Gateway tar sands pipeline.
Hattie, Washington! I bring greetings from the First Nation communities of Northern British Columbia, Canada. Firstly, as my First Nation protocol of respect, I must thank Chief Tayak of the Piscataway Indian Nation for allowing us to do business on their traditional territories and for their warm letter of welcome. I am Jackie Thomas from Saikas First Nation. I've been a government chief for many years, but more importantly, I'm a member of the Frog Clan. It's my responsibility as a Frog Clan member to take care of the water. Each of our clans have their own responsibilities, and we all work in unison to steward this great land that we live on. This traditional governance system that I'm a part of has been and has survived generations and generations of attacks to assimilate us. But my traditional governance system is alive and well and will continue to be alive and well into the future. I am a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 1, and I was raised by my own grandmother. She was a traditional medicine woman of my people, and I learned early on the value of our environment. She was known as Dr. Sophie Thomas, and her words are still with me today. And what she told us was, when we take care of the land would take care of us. If we destroy this land, we will destroy ourselves. I'm speaking on behalf of the Yinkadene Alliance from Northern British Columbia, and Yinkadene translates to people of the earth. I am part of the Dene people from the northern reaches of the Northwest Territories, down to my cousins, the Navajo of Arizona. We formed an alliance to stop the Enbridge Northern Gateway project, which plans to bring tar sands oil to the coast of British Columbia, which will then be put on tankers to go to the Asian markets. The Yinka Dene Alliance is opposed to irresponsible, environmental, damaging projects that puts our communities, our water, our culture, our land, our fish, our animals, and most importantly, our plants at risk. It puts at risk my neighbors to the east of me that live at the tar sands. The government doesn't recognize these people, and these people have been dying of mysterious cancers. Their water is polluted, their animals are sick, and Mother Earth is sick. Our alliance have used our own laws to protect our lands, and for centuries we've done this. We created the Save the Fraser Declaration, which we have traveled with across the great land of Canada. We've promoted this recently on the Freedom Train 2012 going to the Enbridge AGM in Toronto. Currently we have over 135 First Nations in Canada signed up to this. We have built alliances and will be signing international documents with other nations of the Indigenous world in the future. We are also endorsed by many municipalities in Canada. Most recently, the City of Vancouver, Mayor Gregor Robertson signed and made a proclamation that December 13th, 2012 was Save the Fraser Declaration Day for the City of Vancouver. This was very brave because my government, the Canadian government, has been calling me an environmental extremist, a radical, and an enemy of Canada. All I want and my people want to do is protect this land and this water that is sacred. This water that we're talking about has no color. This water that we're talking about is not just water for my own people. It is water also for my neighbor ranchers, my neighbor farmers that live next door to me. It's a human issue, and it impacts everyone. We are all connected. Enbridge really has brought our communities together in Canada because we've had oil spills, and you've also had oil spills in this country because oil will spill. It's just a matter of when. They've spilled in the Kalamazoo, which I hear cannot be cleaned up. They've broken their promises, and I understand it's even Enbridge that it did that. They've spilled oil in Red Deer, Alberta. They've spilled oil in my sister, the territories of the Lubicon Cree. They've spilled oil in the Northwest Territories, the Dene brothers and sisters that I know from the Northwest Territories. And of course, who can forget Exxon Valdez? Of course, also, in most recent memory, we've had the BP spill, which was on the news day after day, month after month. They've hurt the brothers and sisters of the Homa Nation that my sister has visited. Never in my life have I ever seen white and native work together until now. Thank you, Enbridge, for doing this work for me. In Canada, First Nations are always expected to be the sacrificial lambs for our government in terms of the economy. Like the economy is a human being. Like the economy is more important than our land and our water. Water is a non-renewable resource, and we can't take it for granted. The Yinka-Dene Alliance have never signed a treaty. We have never gone to war. We have never ceded our territories in British Columbia, and we never will. Under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, we have not, the Yinka-Dene Alliance, have not given our free, prior, and informed consent to this project. In Canada, there's a judicial review process going on right now. While the process is still underway, our government has made public statements to the effect that this project will go through. Over the last year, my country has made changes to environmental laws that eases the burden for industry to discriminately go forward with these projects. Specifically, we have legislative bills C-38 and C-45 that have just been passed over the last 9 months in Ottawa. There was no discussion. They did not ask Canadians permission to do this. They just did. And the time has come, and a part of our Idle No More movement also, has been to let the general public know that we cannot keep taking out of greed. We should only take out of need. I want to share with you also my thoughts and the thoughts of First Nation Canadians on Obama's victory down here. Because we celebrated, because we prayed also that this country would be led by a person of color. It gives us hope. It gives us hope that there is change that will come. My prayers are that my own country would start to wake up and take care of our people, as I have faith that your president will take care of you. And your president will not put industry's interests above human interests. I'm here to ask you and to ask the world to help us. The Canadian government has made it clear they will approve Enbridge. We need your help to stand with us. We need your prayers. I need somebody to stand with me as the bulldozers come. I'm laying down my life. I need you to hear us and don't approve Keystone. I need to hear you, support us, and help us stop Enbridge. We can't sacrifice our children's future, and we can't do it alone. I'm asking help from the Water Keepers Alliance, the Congress of American Indians. For the first time in my life, I feel like there's support of many. We can believe we can stand before big oil and unsustainable development. I want to thank you for showing up here today. I want to thank you for listening to my words and assisting me in this time of historical importance, not just for my people, but for your people.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Somebody mentioned. Come on, y'all. Somebody make some noise, y'all. Come on, come on. Come on.
Welcome to our nation's capital. Welcome to our people's mall. There is a lot of history here of Americans coming to this place to make their voices heard. So thank you for coming and joining that history of American voices. Your voices can make a difference, and your voices need to make a difference. Because Congress is sleepwalking through this crisis, and it's time to wake up. Help wake us up. Add your voice as a citizen member of the Climate Change Task Force with me and Congressman Waxman of California. Sign up at wakeuptoclimatechange.com and make your voice heard. You know, the polluters, they don't want you here. They do not want you here. They don't want your voices heard. They got the lobbyists. They got the super PACs. They've made the campaign contributions. They've got this town in their pockets. They have got the situation under control. And then you show up. And then we show up. And we change the game. And you brought your voices. Are you going to be heard? You know we need to hear you. Are you going to be heard? They say that climate change is a hoax. You going to be heard about that? They say the science isn't clear and we should wait some more. You going to be heard about that? We are going to be heard, and we are going to make this right. And it's not just us. There's a man over there in the White House. He has found his voice on climate change. Are we going to have his back? He has said that to fail to act is to betray future generations. Are we going to betray future generations? We are going to help Barack Obama win this fight and make this right. Because it's not just for us. Look down the hallways of history. They're watching. They know this is our time. They know this is our choice. They know this is our moment. And they know we were made for this moment. To our children and to their children and to their children, are we going to say, we failed you? No chance. No chance. We are going to have the president's back, and he is going to have our back, and we're going to look down the hallways of history to those children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and we're going to say to them, yes, we did. We are going to say to them, this was our time, and these were our voices, and this was our choice, and by God, yes, we did. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been said, one ought not to be obstinate unless one ought to be. And then one ought to be unshakable. My friends, let us be unshakable.
Make some noise, y'all. So, before I bring our next speaker, I just want to take this 5 seconds and just say this, that, you know, the reality of our movement is this. If we fail, the consequences are dire. But they already have been dire because, see, I'm from Louisiana. And my family and friends went through Katrina. And those who also went through, now New York, Sandy. So for this 10 seconds, y'all, and in a moment, just a quick silence, you put your fist in the air all over. I heard there's 40,000 of you now, fist all the way around. Put your fist in the air for those babies in the South Bronx that with asthma. Put your fist in the air for those grandmoms in Oakland who are dealing with cancer. Put your fist in the air for all those who have gone in the Native American tribes who are dealing with cancer or flooded bad water or bad air. Put your fist in the air for humanity. And let them know that we say can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop, can't stop. Then make some noise. Coming up to the stage right now. Get up for Maria Cardona. She's on the senior advisor to 2008 Hillary Clinton's campaign. She's a frequent spokesman for the Latino community, and she's on CNN.
Gracias a todos. Buenas tardes. I'm so happy to be here with all of you at this historic event. Now, this is the way to stand up for climate change. Thank you to 350.org, to the Sierra Club, to the NRDC, and to all of you who are making this powerful rally possible. For our children and our future. Yeah, we must do more for climate change. You know, interestingly enough, just a few short years ago, environmental issues didn't really register with Latinos as top concerns for our families. But ¿saben qué? That has changed. That has changed, sadly, because we have seen the detrimental effects of toxins in our air and in our water and what that does to our families and to our children. Unfortunately, Latino communities, Latino families, and all communities in this country are suffering from this. Latinos disproportionately live in communities that have been poisoned. Their water has been poisoned. Their air has been poisoned. Our children have asthma. We live, we breathe, we play in these places that have been poisoned by these toxins. So the president's statement, we don't have to choose between our environment and our economy, really hits home for Latinos and for all of us. So from limiting carbon pollutions from our nation's dirty power plants to saying no and rejecting the Keystone tar sands pipeline. Yeah. President Obama's legacy can rest squarely on his response, his resolve, and his leadership in solving the climate crisis. The oil industry claims that the Keystone tar sands pipeline is for our energy security. We know that this pipeline gives the industry new access to foreign markets and the ability to sell their tar sands for more money. It's a win-win for them. What about us? What about us? What about ensuring we have what we need to make sure that our families have economic security and health security? It's a loss for all of us when it comes to clean air and clean water and our climate. We also keep hearing about these job-killing regulations, but for millions of Americans, and especially minority and low-income communities, clean air protections are life-saving regulations. This is another big reason why environmental issues are registering on the minds of so many Latino families today. So we unequivocally support limits on carbon pollution from power plants. Yeah, getting standards for new and existing power plants will mean real improvements for the health of our family and our children, now and into the future. And the President's plan to create more clean energy jobs and more responsible energy development is literally just what the doctor ordered for all of us. Let's make sure that we help this President follow his commitment and his plans with action as we march to the White House today. And on climate change, amigos, I have no doubt that with your commitment, your energy, your heart and soul, sí se puede! Thank you!
Sí se puede! Sí se puede! Sí se puede!
I'm Tom Steyer. I'm not the first person you'd expect to be here today. I'm not a college professor. I don't run an environmental organization. For the last 30 years, I've been a professional investor. And I've been looking at billion-dollar investments for decades. And I'm here to tell you one thing. The Keystone Pipeline is not a good investment. And let me say this. I get the argument for the Keystone Pipeline. The argument for the Keystone Pipeline is business as usual. We use fossil fuels, we continue to use fossil fuels, we need to transport them. But the time for business as usual has passed. We can't afford 40 more years of dirty energy. We can't afford the droughts, the storms, the disasters. And most of all, we can't afford not to build a cleaner, cheaper, more secure energy system. Look, investment is about analysis and timing. We're always asking the question, why is today different from every other day before this? Today is different because it's time now for the first time to look comprehensively. We have to consider all the costs. And we have to ask ourselves, does this pipeline help us, or does it help a few narrow interests? Look, we're Americans. We've never been scared to look at the facts. We've never run away when things are hard. Someday we will be too scared to face the facts. Someday we won't answer the bell when it rings for us. But not today. Today we absolutely have to stand up and face the truth. Today we have to dare to say no to the Keystone Pipeline. And today we have to decide to invent a cleaner, safer, cheaper energy future together. Thank you very much.
Come on, make some noise. Come on. Now, we're going to go to our next speaker, but I just got to say this, though. Two things. One, if you want to tweet up on the board, you can tweet. If you can't, your hand's not too cold, but you can tweet at Ford on Climate. If you want to tell me something, I'm at Rev Yearwood. You can tell me something. Tell me, Rev, you're hanging in there, Rev. You're hanging in there. Whatever, like, thank you, my sister. So, but I want to say this to you because I want to say for some of y'all, for all of you, I love you all. But I really do. Thank you. But for some of you drove on a bus for 2 days straight. If you drove on a bus for more than 12 hours, make some noise. Oh my goodness. If you came on a bus for more than 8 hours, make some noise. If you drove more than 4 hours, make some noise. If you drove more than 2 hours, make some noise. Next up we have, oh y'all are so beautiful. We have Crystal Lemmerman, member of the Beaver Lake Creek Nation, which is located in northeast Alberta, and in the middle of 2 of the 3 tar sands deposits in Alberta. She's also a climate energy champion for Sierra Club Perry chapter. Give it up. Come on up here.
Thanks and hello. My name is Crystal Lehman, and I come to you from the Beaver Lake Cree Nation, which is located in northern Alberta, Canada. First and foremost, I want to say hey and thank you to the Piscataway Indian Nation of the Potomac River, which is now known as Washington, D.C. I stand here today with my brothers and sisters in solidarity. That includes you too. I stand here as a First Nations woman to say that we should never have to choose between our moral obligations, our Indigenous ways of knowing and being who we are as keepers of the land. We should never have to choose that or feeding our families. I'm here because I have an obligation to my children, my ancestors, our future generations, and our one true mother. If this pipeline goes through, it will be at the cost of human life, air life, water life. I come from the source of where this pipeline will ultimately further develop an already destroyed land. Currently, industry has completely desecrated an area the size of a country. England and Switzerland, in 20 years, the Sahara Desert in northern Alberta, what was once the pristine northern boreal forest. If this pipeline goes through, your government will further assist in the raping and pillaging of the lands of my ancestors, whilst deliberately ignoring the basic human rights to clean air and water and our inherent constitutionally protected rights. I abide by natural law, and there's nothing natural about a people dying from cancer. Fish with cancers hanging off of them, moose with pus bubbles under the skin, babies being airlifted to the hospital for drinking contaminated water, and that's the truth. Communities like my sister Melina Levacan, who's from the Lubicon Cree, which is located in one of the 3 tar sands deposits, they experienced a massive oil spill bigger than the Kalamazoo in Michigan. And this is what our future looks like. The law is being broken every single day as more and more permits to industry are granted within my nation's traditional hunting territory. To date, over 19,000 permits granted with the promise our government, along with industry, will push through expansion. A projected 10 times, which ultimately will be the size of Florida when they're done. Then they'll promise to give us back what was never theirs in the first place. Don't be fooled by their ideology of what reclamation is. Reclamation is me standing here with the 99% planting the seeds of knowledge and reclaiming who we are and who I am as a First Nations person of Turtle Island. We're here today to say we never went anywhere, and nor do we plan to. I'm here to share with you what true and honest leaders say. When disaster strikes, it's not going to know race, color, or creed. I'm here to tell you that when that happens, the greed is going to see that we cannot eat money and we cannot drink oil. We all bleed the same color. I stand here far away from home and my children to tell you that there has been hostages taken in this game they play of environmental roulette. We are the economic hostages pacifying ourselves with money. We have an obligation to our one true mother. If we take care of her, she'll take care of us. providing and nurturing. But when we ignore that and choose greed and wealth, an economy that is not stable, she will fight back. We cannot ignore that our mother has stirred the thunder and water beings along these pipeline routes. Our environment is speaking to us. We must wake up. We're human, not the creator. In solidarity, all my relations, I'm grateful to each and every one of you because you give me the strength to keep on keeping on, fighting the good fight. And I ask you all to stay around at the end of the march as we partake in an action of solidarity and friendship. We're going to do what's called a round dance. We're going to link hands standing sideways, begin stepping to the left, and eventually we're going to move into a unified circle. And with that, I want to introduce to you respected Elder Casey Camp from the Tonka Nation in Oklahoma.
I'm a member of the Ponca Nation of Oklahoma. My name is Shuthi. The name that my captors called me was Casey Camp, so I give you my colonized name as well. I see you, my relatives. I see you, my red relatives back here. I see you, my black relatives out there. I see you, my white relatives out there. I see you, my yellow relatives out there. I see you, my thunder relatives. I see you, my grass relatives. I see you, my four-leg relatives. I see you, my water relatives. This day, you could be anywhere. You could be doing anything. That's the way my people say. But instead, you chose this day to be here. You chose this day to stand in solidarity, with each other, the human race, because we know that our Mother the Earth, with merely a shrug of her shoulder, could shake us off. With merely a talk to her Thunder Nation, she could wash us away. But instead she nurtures us. Instead she gives us strength. Instead, she feeds us the power to come together. We are allied with the greatest powers that are. We are allied with the Father Son. We are allied with the Mother Earth. We are allied with the relatives of the moon and the stars. And my relatives, you are winners. My relatives, this is the beginning of the change. My relatives, what you do today makes the difference, and I thank you and I love you. Wave the hop from my relatives to yours.
I'm here to hold this space for the people who are fighting the pipeline on the southern leg. I'm here for the people of Manchester. I'm here for the people of Port Arthur, of Mossville. I want you to put your hands in the air for them. They have been sacrificing all of this time, their freedoms, their comforts for you.
Come on, y'all, you better that. Let's make some noise, y'all. Come on, you can better that. Okay. Are y'all ready to march? Are y'all ready to march? Y'all don't sound like they're ready to march. Are y'all ready to march? So now, two things. Before I bring my good friend Michael Brown here from Sierra Club. Great. And I done gave him some hip hop on the mic skills. He's gonna turn out. First, I want to give a shout out to Michael's daughter. Michael's daughter is, I think, probably could be the youngest protester out here at 4 months old. Get up for Geneva right there, y'all. Give it up. In the pink blanket, there she is. 4 months out here making it happen. Now, our goal is that when she turns 50, this planet still exists. Y'all with that? Are y'all with that? So now, how many of y'all have these signs? Okay, so this is how we're going to do. So when we're marching, all right, y'all look beautiful. Now, Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So the black side is going to form a pipeline because there's over 40,000 of you out here right now. So we're going to do a quick practice. If you hold it up, the black side toward the sky. There it is, all the way around, everywhere black, all the way around. Now that represents dirty energy. That's not a good look at all. Now turn over to the white side. Oh, that looks fantastic. Look at that, look at that, look at that. That is amazing. Okay, you got it. So that's gonna be the game plan. You got it. So now I'm gonna bring up Michael real quick, but I'm gonna bring up Michael special real quick. So so first of all, somebody said, what's your name? I'm Reverend Year from Hip Hop Caucus. I'm proud to be here with my good friends with Sierra Club and 350. But also the other 160 organizations who are partners. Make some noise for the other 160 organizations right now who made this happen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
They said that 10,000 people of us could not come together in February, and they were wrong. They said there's no way 20,000 of us could come together in the middle of the winter, and they were wrong. They said 30,000 of us could not come together when it was so cold, and they were wrong. We are 35,000 strong. 35,000 strong. Let me start today with something that might surprise you. When President Obama takes out his pen and signs the executive order rejecting the tar sands pipeline, he will not only honor the presence of all of you and the millions of people that you represent, from the ranchers in Texas to the farmers in Nebraska to the people in the coal fields of Appalachia fighting the coal industry, to the people on the front lines fighting the fracking industry in New York, in Pennsylvania, in Colorado, in Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Michigan. I said Michigan twice. But when President Obama signs that executive order, rejecting the Keystone Pipeline, not only will he be on the right side of history, but on the winning side. Now, I know sometimes it doesn't feel like we're winning. I know that all of us, we watch the news, we read the papers, we see what's happening because of climate change to our communities, our country, and all around the world. And it's terrifying. I know that there are a lot of us out here who are parents, grandparents. I see a lot of beautiful babies. And I know it's terrifying to think about what the world will look like when those kids grow up. I feel that myself. 8 years ago, my wife Mary brought our little girl Olivia into the world, our little angel. She's here today. She's the cutie with the white hat on. 8 years ago, we were in a darkened screening room watching Vice President Al Gore give one of his inconvenient truth speeches. And I remember Mary and I sitting there. We had just brought this beautiful little angel into the world, and we were terrified about what climate disruption would do to that world. We were holding each other's hands, we were squeezing each other's hands, and we were terrified. And let's think about what's happened over those last few years. A lot of the things have proven to be true. Wildfires destroying thousands of homes across the West. A drought that's crippling the Farm Belt. Superstorm Sandy, a 1,000-mile diameter hurricane at the end of October, slammed into the eastern seaboard, hit the Jersey Shore where I grew up, flooded the house that my father built, that I grew up in. I came here today to tell you that despite all of this, despite what we're seeing, I am optimistic. I believe we will prevail, and I want to tell you why. 10 years or so ago, President George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, they proposed a plan to build 200 coal-fired power plants all across this country. It was a gift-wrapped present to their fossil fuel buddies. But what they didn't count on is that one of those plants was proposed 50 miles south of Chicago. Sierra Club activists, other volunteers got together. They had never challenged a coal plant before. They pulled the permit applications. They taught themselves about the issue. They organized their friends. They filled town rallies. And they shut that plant down. And then citizens from all across the country went toe-to-toe with the coal industry in Wisconsin, in Florida, in Kentucky, in New Mexico. Together we have worked. We have built a coalition of hundreds of organizations, thousands of people, and we are winning. We have defeated coal plants in Florida. We have shut down the 2 dirtiest coal plants on the south side of Chicago. We shut down the coal plant just across the river on the Potomac. I stand here today saying that together, as a movement, we have defeated, we have shut down more than 300 proposed and existing coal-fired power plants all across the country. So remember that the next time somebody tells you that climate change is inevitable. Remember that the next time someone tells you that our movement is not strong and that we are not growing. What is happening right now? What is happening is that the fossil fuel barons, their lawyers, their spin doctors, their lobbyists are losing their grip on our country's psyche. The spell has been broken. The spell has been broken. Our clean energy future isn't just in the future, it's happening right now. There are facts about clean energy that they don't want to hear, that they don't want you to hear. The wind industry has doubled in the last 4 years. Our solar industry has grown by a factor of 5. Iowa now gets at least 20% of their power from wind. South Dakota gets almost 25% of their power coming from wind. Texas is the #1 wind installer. Colorado will soon be at 30% solar plus wind. By the time my kids are out of high school, by the time our 3 little children are out of high school, 50% of the power in this country will come from solar and wind, and we will never look back. So what you need to know is that the spell has been broken. The spell has been broken. The last thing I want to say is to President Obama. Mr. President, we have heard what you've said on climate. We have loved a lot of what you've said on climate. But Mr. President, our question is, what will you do? Mr. President, what will you do when their tap water is set on fire because of fracking? Mr. President, what will you do as the Arctic melts? What will you do as our rainforest dries up? Mr. President, what will you do about the Keystone XL pipeline? That's right. Mr. President, you hold a pen and the executive power of hope in your hands. Take out that pen, Mr. President. Write down the words, "I reject the Keystone XL pipeline." Mr. President, join us. We will not be stopped. We are strong. We are powerful. We are building a clean energy future in our time. So marchers, let me ask you, are we on the right side of history? Are we on the winning side of history? Are we on the winning side of history? Do we want President Obama to join us? Do we want Obama to lead us? Will we fight? Will we give up? Will we win? Will we win? Are you ready to march to the White House? Well, then let's go.
What's a day at so Higher Chief? What's a day like? So that's where it's going down. We want to get to the top.
This is what democracy looks like.
democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
There's no more sidewalks.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Hey, ho, ho. Keystone Pipeline's got to go. Get up, get down. Let's keep the tar sands in the ground. Get up, get down. Let's keep the tar sands in the ground. Let's keep the tar sands in the ground. Get up, get down. Let's keep the tar sands in the ground. We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. 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 Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Relatives, while you have a moment, take one moment to look inside yourself. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of each and every message that you've heard when you were here. When you go home, join your forces with all of the people around you. Say thank you to the people who organized this, the Sierra Club, 350, the indigenous people where you live, each and every volunteer. And look inside yourself and say thank you to yourself, because you are the one that's going to make a difference in the days to come.